With all these media wars going on and that we've all been so drawn into on social media and reading articles in the newspaper and seeing the situation in Israel debated so vigorously, one of the sides of all of it that's actually been a positive for me is really seeing how many Jewish people there are who are intellectuals and journalists and who are in so many places in society. They're able to take a stand and say, this is what the Jewish people are going through. And that story of, they had that tech summit planned in Portugal, but there are so many Jewish and Israeli tech workers that when the head of a tech summit made an anti-Israel statement, they boycotted it until he resigned. And that's because we're so well represented in all these creative spheres and intellectual spheres, and so many articles written, and because we're people who love to explore, and we love the mind, the life of the mind and the life of the heart. Rachel, who's a therapist, whenever she gets her magazines from the therapy world, the conferences are always at least 50% of the names end in Berg or Steen or something like that, because we're involved in all those worlds so much, in the worlds of inspiration and nonprofit and spirit and soul. And I guess because we love to explore. And that's what we do. We set out to explore, we seek, and then we want to share it with others. And sometimes it's by our pen, sometimes it's by imagination, and sometimes we do it with all of our lives in the trunk, or whether we go about our way. And so as we find in the Torah this week, the Abraham, the first Jewish person, is called by God to leave everything behind, his land, his home, his family, and to go to the land that God will show him. And Abraham says yes to this call. I'm going to go explore. I'm going to try something new. And so despite his advanced age, despite all the dangers, he goes on this journey of exploration. He tries something very new. And it's a physical discovery, a new land, a spiritual discovery, a whole new religion, a way of experiencing spirit and of oneness, of one God, and trying to bring that to others. And also understanding who he is, as happens when you go on journeys far away. And Lech Lecha, the words that begin the parsha, also mean go to yourself. And so Abraham is commanded, go to yourself. And he's willing to try it all out because he wants to do what we feel called to do, which is try and do our best to bring some blessing into this world. And he's willing to go through hardship to try and make that happen. And he's not the only one. There's Joseph, who calls his brothers and their father to come down to Egypt and be in Egypt with them, a worrying proposition, but they do it. Starts out well, but turns badly. And just as the slaves were then called to leave Egypt and go into the unknown, into the desert, and start a whole new chapter in the land of their forefathers. And as Jews, we've really explored so many different corners of our world and so many areas of intellectual discovery. And then we bring it back to humanity, to express it to others, to say yes to the offer of going through something, to be able to have something special to give out. And so God says to Abraham, go explore the land, this beautiful land, explore its width, explore its breadth, walk around it, and be blameless. It's only when you really are willing to explore and do it from that place of seeking justice and truth that you receive that blessing. So when Abraham and Sarah, when they set out, they still have 10 tests they have to face throughout their years. It's just the beginning of their journey that we read about, but then we see where it takes them. And some of their parts of their journeys, the difficulties are internal, deep and difficult issues in their family. Some of them are external. Abraham has to go to war in our parsha, facing his own limitations. But in the end of all of it, they say that Abraham dies b'seiva tova. He dies in good old age, and he's blessed in everything. And so now too, we, the Jewish people, are facing another exploration and another very difficult moment. And this situation in Israel is going to change the Jewish people for good. And all we can do is say, we are here, we're present for what this is bringing to us. I will respond to this call and know that in the end, we'll emerge with more wisdom, more self-understanding, a new beginning. And as the people of Abraham, take one more step. As always, going with hope and faith and open hearts and minds, and striving to bring justice and truth, finding our strength, and believing that one day there will be peace. Shabbat Shalom.